Hello everyone and welcome to the Twilight Princess any percent tournament, loser bracket round 6 between Jacquaid and Adam. With me today I have our wonderful commentator, so say hello.
Hi. How's it going, guys?
So, what should we be expecting from this race then?
Well, both of these runners are very, very good. I would say Adam is the favorite to win, but really anything can happen because Twilight Princess just has RNG all over the place, and lots of difficult tricks. So, we should hopefully be seeing a really good run from both of these people. Should be a good race.
Okay, well the race is just starting on their end, so a few seconds later and they'll be off on our end.
And we're off. Alright, so the run starts off with a luck-based trick, followed by a frame-perfect one. We are going to go off to the side here, and on the right side we're going to pick up a rock, and we're going to bring it over to the fence, the gate that's blocking us from getting to Farron Woods, and we're going to use the rock to actually clip through it. And once we're on the other side, we're going to do a trick called Back in Time. And Back in Time is very interesting. It gives us a lot of important things. So by voiding out and resetting on the same frame, we can actually get Link to respawn on the title screen, and then we can save the contents of the title screen to a file and play off of that file. So saving the title screen on the title screen, well, what does that give us? That gives us, it's going to give us the Ordon Sword, the Hylian Shield. It's not actually going to put them in our inventory, weirdly enough. And same for the Hero's Tunic. We are also going to, it's also going to give us Epona Tamed. And this is really important because it's going to allow us to do a couple important things, but I can get to that when we get there. For now, let's just watch these runners. And Jacquaid is doing a little bit of a different route than Adam. Jacquaid's actually doing a very different route overall, but right at the start here, once Adam gets back in time, you may have noticed that Jacquaid actually got a game over, and that's to give himself something called boss flags, which I'll explain that more once Adam does it, because it's just not really important right now. It'll come into play later. So right now, they're just going through this sort of intro sequence, the Save Tallow sequence. They'll be getting the lantern, and just going to save Tallow. There isn't really much else. I guess I can talk about language differences here. You'll notice that they're both playing in English. And that's because English is actually the second fastest language, the fastest being German, but not everyone has access to German. Most people have access to English, which is just really nice that it's the second fastest language. It's only 5.6 seconds slower than German, and that's just really nice. It just makes this run a lot more accessible to people. And the reason faster is because of a couple text boxes. There's one in particular. Most of the text boxes are actually a little bit slower because of just the amount of letters in German. So actually a lot of the text boxes are slower, but we just get a couple that are either broken or just a little bit faster, and they really make up the time. And another thing to note, you'll notice that they're just rolling everywhere. Unfortunately, unlike, say, Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, we don't really have any, or even like Wind Waker HD. We have like there's item sliding in that game. There's like Hessing in Ocarina of Time and OOT, or sorry, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. But in Twilight Princess, we unfortunately don't have any sort of like really fast movement. We just kind of roll everywhere. There is once we have access to Wolf Link, we can dash, which is a little bit faster than human in most places. But a lot of times it's not even worth it to transform, just because transforming takes a little bit. So we'll just be rolling everywhere for the most part. So now that they're both done with the save tallow sequence, they are going to have to herd the goats, which is really annoying, honestly. Nobody likes goats. They're just really finicky a lot of the time. There's a little bit of RNG to it. If you do the exact same thing every time, you should be able to get it like pretty consistently. But the goats are just sometimes like really sensitive, even though you're far away, and sometimes you just be like right up against them and they're just not moving at all. And just the whole thing is just really an ordeal. A good goat's time is usually around 20 seconds. So this is a little bit slow on Jacquaid's part, but still not terrible. Yeah, just really the goats can just be really trolly a lot of the time and just start getting away from you, and it's really, really annoying. And then immediately after, coming up, we are going to be getting the iron boots. So if you've played this game casually, then you know that you don't get the iron boots until much later. You don't get the iron boots until you have beaten the Forest Temple, cleared Elden Twilight, all that fun stuff. But we're going to actually get them now. So normally Bo's house is locked, but because we did Back in Time earlier, the flag for Bo like wrestling you is Epona-tamed. So once you have Epona-tamed, then you can get the iron boots. And because doing Back in Time gives us Epona, then we can just go get the iron boots now. And normally Bo would be standing outside of his house, and you'd have to trigger a cutscene. But he's not standing outside of his house here, so we just have to go inside and just talk to him over and over and over to get through all the text boxes. So Bo is also really annoying. It's basically just rock, paper, scissors, but you have to mash fast. It's completely RNG. It's just really annoying. As you can see, Jacquaid is not getting the greatest luck here. The best luck that you can get is what Adam just got. You want... so in the first round, Bo can either slap, dodge, grab, or do nothing. And in the second round, the only difference is he can't do nothing. You either want him to do nothing or move to the side. And... that's just the fastest, because if he does nothing or moves to the side, if you slap him once and then push, you can actually get him off in one push if you mash fast enough. So Yeah, right there, what Jacquaid got. So unfortunately he didn't mash fast enough, but he did get lucky with Bo trying to slap there. In your average Twilight Princess run, you usually want to shoot for about sub 730 iron boots. So, well, at least in the route that Adam is doing. In the route that Jacquaid is doing, it's a little bit more because he did that thing where he got a game over at the beginning. So, unfortunately, these guys are not on the greatest pace, but that's okay. The beginning of Twilight Princess is just so RNG heavy. It's just really, really difficult to get runs going sometimes, and especially in a race, it can really just desync runners really, really quickly. So now we are entering the sewers. Right here, the first little time save. It's actually possible, right there, Adam got it. It's actually possible to break the box before you are broken out of the chains, and it just saves a teeny tiny little bit of time. And Jacquaid also got it. So in the sewers, there isn't really much to talk about. It's pretty vanilla overall. There are a couple time saves here and there that I'll point out, but overall, we just kind of go and try to do it as fast as we can. So coming up in a little bit, there's a bit of a time save. So normally you have to jump forward and knock down some rocks, and then Midna will call you an idiot for not knowing what you're doing. And unfortunately, Adam missed it there, but it is possible to, if you jump off to the side just a little bit, you can actually jump past the Midna text trigger that's on the ground there, and just saves like a second. Jacquaid also did not get the skip. And another thing to point out, after Midna talks to you, for Midna jumps, there's one frame after you close the text box that you can actually jump. If you miss the frame, then you just have to wait a second. So every time you get that first framer, you just save a tiny little bit of time. And coming out of the sewers here, there's a cutscene that we can jump attack out of. There, Adam got it. Very nice. Once again, just a small Midna text time save. And unfortunately, Jacquaid missed it there, so you can see the difference. Zelux, this is Losers Bracket round 6. It's a little weird. I guess losers semis. The bracket just like looks really weird. But now that they are done with sewers and rooftops, we are coming up on probably one of the most infamous tricks in Twilight Princess speedrunning. Normally here you would go to Ordon and you would get the sword and shield. And if you try to go to the Twilight, Midna will just tell you like, hey, you have to go get a sword and shield. But unfortunately for us, we can't get the sword and shield. So because we did back in time at the start of the run, while it did allow us to get the iron boots, which is very, very important, we now can't get the Ordon sword and shield. But that's totally fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to lure this Bulblin, which we have named Hugo, over to the trigger here. And on the ground, there's the trigger where Midna tells you to go back and get the sword and shield. And then right behind that, there's a trigger where Midna will take you into the Twilight. And normally you can't just jump over it with a jump attack. But what we can do is we can use the Bulblin here and do what's known as a long jump attack to actually get over the trigger. And land in the one where Midna takes us into the Twilight. Right there, Adam got it. First try, very, very nice. That trick is super, super difficult. It's position precise, it's angle precise, it's timing precise. It's just... And yes, Jacquaid got it as well. Very, very good. Yes, just the trick is just very, very precise and difficult in every way. And it definitely takes a lot of practice. So it's just so infamous because it's just so difficult to pick up at the start. But fortunately, both runners got it first try. Very nice. And they should be moving on from here. So right here, we're going to get one of the most important abilities in the whole run, the Midna Charge attack. And the reason it's so important is just because it allows us to do quite a few tricks. But there's just one in particular that we're going to be using it for in any percent. So you'll notice that Adam actually skipped getting the vessel and is not killing any of the bugs. That's because in the route that Adam is doing, he's actually not going to clear Fair and Twilight. Jacquaid, on the other hand, is going to clear Fair and Twilight, and I will explain more about why when we get there. And it's probably going to look like Jacquaid is much further behind than he really is. And that's just because of the difference in routes. Jacquaid is going to be making up for what looks like time loss later in the run. And right there, what Jacquaid did, normally after you kill those two bugs, Koro will talk to you, but if you turn off senses right as you kill them, then he doesn't. Little time saver. And right here on Adam's screen, we are coming up on a very important skip. So Adam is going to use the Midna charge, and once the Shadow Beast gives a particular swing, unfortunately, he messed it up right there, but once the Shadow Beast gives us a particular swing, Adam is actually going to use the Shadow Beast to jump up onto the ledge out of bounds and make his way over to the Sacred Grove, and that will allow us to get the Master Sword early. Oh, unfortunate. Fortunately, it's not too bad of a time loss, because you can just go over and kill the Shadow Beast and retry. But yes, right there, Adam got it. Very nice. That trick is also a pretty difficult one to pick up. So now that Adam is in the Sacred Grove, he will be fighting the Skull Kid. And you'll notice he did skip the cutscene there. When Jacquaid gets there, he's actually not going to be skipping the cutscene, and that's because of the thing that he did at the start where he got a game over. If he were to skip the cutscenes, it would get rid of that, and it's very important that he still has the properties of what he did. And something that's good for us, the Skull Kid is always in the same place. There, Jacquaid got EMS, very nice. The Skull Kid is always in the same place every time. We don't have to go around searching for him or anything. We just have to memorize where he is and go find him. And also, if you make it around that corner fast enough, you'll be able to see the Skull Kid just kind of disappear. And in the Skull Kid fight, we only want to kill one of the puppets, because killing more just has lag frames and just is slower. We only need to kill one. You'll also notice that the runners are picking up rupees as they go along, and that's because by the end of Arbiters, they are going to want to have 300 rupees, because we need to have 300 rupees to get into City in the Sky, which is required. So here, Adam is just howled once again to start the puzzle. And the puzzle, like Skull Kid, is always the same every single time. We just have to memorize the pattern. And what's also kind of interesting is it also works if you do the same thing but mirrored. So if you play the Wii version, which has everything mirrored, you don't have to like learn a new pattern or anything. You can still do the same thing and it works. So once they pick up the Master Sword, it's about 2 minutes from picking up the Master Sword to gaining control of Link again. Unfortunately, the Master Sword cutscene is one of the few that we cannot skip. And usually in the route that Adam is doing, a good Master Sword time would be around 21 minutes. So, unfortunately, he's not on the best pace, but this can still be a very, very good run. Definitely still on pace for sub 3. Alright, now that we are done with the Master Sword cutscene, the next thing that we have to do is go get the boomerang. Because the boomerang is the most broken item in the game. It just allows us to do so much. And we can just skip so many things with it. So... and while we are going to go to Forest Temple to get the boomerang, we aren't actually going to beat the Forest Temple because that's not required. And now that we have the Master Sword, that allows us to do quite a few things. We can transform in the Twilight. So we can be human or wolf whenever we want. And we are going to see the first use of that in just a little bit. So Adam is going to run forward here and transform into human. And instead of doing midnight jumps all throughout the purple fog area again, Adam is just going to transform into human and then swing the lantern a couple times and just get through, which is much faster, of course, and just really awesome. So coming up here, Adam is going to do what Jacquaid did at the very start of the run. So what Adam is going to do is he's going to do back in time by actually jump attacking past the loading zone here in Forest Temple, and doing back in time off the void behind there. And then he's going to do something called back in time equipped, and then he's going to reset and skip a cutscene as he's resetting, and that's going to give him boss flags. So what boss flags do is, so boss flags are actually tied to the amount of monkeys that you have in the Forest Temple. If you've played the game casually, you know that to get to the boomerang, you have to collect a certain amount of monkeys first, and then you can go fight the mini-boss. But by getting boss flags, it's actually going to set the number of monkeys we have to a higher value, and then we don't have to actually go through the dungeon. The monkeys are just going to appear. So Adam actually got pretty lucky there. The spider that was on the vines didn't attack him. Normally, you could just use the slingshot, but because this is a speed run, we don't get the slingshot. So we can use the Deku Babas and throw them at the spiders. Unfortunately, the top spider, whether or not it dies to the Deku Baba nut, is kind of RNG. So yeah. And now we can head off to the mini boss, Ook. So Ook has some RNG. He jumps around the pillars a couple times. The minimum is 2, which is the best RNG. Very nice. I was able to get the best RNG there. And normally you'd have to do Ook in 2 cycles, but because we have the Master Sword, we can just kill him in 1. And the boomerang is actually, it's kind of funny. The boomerang is the only item that talks to you, and it only talks to you this one time, and it's really weird, and there's no reason for it. And also, if you see on Jacquaid's screen, same thing that happened to Adam when he walked through that door, just the monkeys just appear out of nowhere. So now we have the boomerang. Like I said before, the most broken item in the game. We are going to, and it's what's going to allow us to actually skip clearing Fair and Twilight. So, we save warp to get out of the dungeon faster, and the first thing that we're going to do is warp away. We warp to South Farron, because that is where the exit to Hyrule Field is. So, Adam's going to run over here. And normally there's a trigger where Midna tells you, like, hey, you have to clear the Twilight and, you know, beat the Forest Temple and all that stuff. But if we get right as close to the trigger as we can use the boomerang and do what's known as a long jump attack. So, similar to what we did with the Bulblin, Hugo, to get into Fair and Twilight without having to get the Sword and Shield, we can actually use the boomerang to do the same thing wherever we want. So by throwing the boomerang and having it be over ground that is above Link's feet or out of bounds, then when we take out our sword and jump attack towards it, then you just get jump, long jump, as one might say, hence the name. And right there's the second use. So normally, if you just run forward there, the mailman will talk to you, but we can use the past it. So Jacquaid has cleared Farron Twilight here. And this is to avoid what Adam is going to have to do in just a little bit here. Another infamous trick in Twilight Princess speedrunning. So what Adam is going to have to do is, after killing the Shadow Beasts, there's actually one frame where you can do a jump attack and jump attack into the void, and it's called Gorge Void. And it's only one frame, you can't buffer it or anything, you just have to time it or mash and hope you get it, and missing it loses a minute. So hopefully Adam can get it here. And the alternative route that Jacquaid is doing, very, very nice, Adam getting that. So he's not going to lose a minute. Fortunately, that's very, very good. But Jacquaid doesn't want to have to deal with that one frame A press. It's just annoying. And the route that Jacquaid does is a little bit slower, but he just doesn't have to do Gorge Void. So it's about 30 seconds slower-ish on average. And right there, what Adam is doing is a trick called Rupee Roll. So by getting the text for the rupee, it'll actually stop Link from just sliding off the fence, and we can use the boomerang to do a long jump attack onto the fence and get over to the other side. And then we can use the boomerang to do a long jump attack across the gorge. And the reason we have to do this is because we can't warp the bridge, because to warp the bridge you have to beat Forest Temple and clear Farron Twilight. And you'll notice the sort of weird looking movement that Adam just did there. That's because we did Back in Time at the start of the run, it actually puts the King Bulblin 1 trigger there. So we have to run around the trigger. So right now, Adam is getting the Kakariko Warp Portal and then is just immediately going to leave. And he is going to come back here later, but there's just no reason to do it now. And we have some other stuff to do in other places. So what Adam is actually going to run back and do now is what just happened to Jacquaid. So normally, if you don't get the jump attack into the void, Midna will talk to you and force you to warp away. And this is also what gives us map warping, because this is normally where you first gain the ability to warp. So now we can use the map to warp, which is going to be very important for some later things, but I will explain those when we get there. For now, let's focus on what's going on. Jacquaid is going to escape the forest again, so is Adam once he gets over to the trigger. And they are both going to be doing something called Pillar Clip. So, well, I guess right before Pillar Clip, they are going to prove that gates aren't real in Twilight Princess. So we can run over to the gate that normally stops us from going to Lanayru. And it's actually possible to just bonk the gate and then side hop through. And you need to be facing a certain way, but it's very, very lenient. So it's really easy. Just get an angle, then bonk the gate, side hop through, and we can head on to Lanayru. And we're going to make more usage of the fact that we can transform wherever we want with the Master Sword. And we're going to transform into human and then jump down to Lake Hylia. And what we're actually going to do is sink all the way down to where the entrance of Lake Bed is, and we're going to clip out of bounds and get into Lake Bed early. And the reason that we need to do this now is because in the route that these guys are doing, in both of their routes, they're actually going to be skipping the Zora armor altogether. And you do have to beat Lake Bed. So we have to get in somehow, and it's most convenient now because the water level in Lake Hylia right now is very low, and if it wasn't, then we just wouldn't be able to get in. We wouldn't have enough air to sink all the way down and make it to the loading zone. So this trick is also very precise and quite punishing to fail, so hopefully these runners can get it first try. We have to go under this pillar here and then swim up, and that looks good from Jacquaid. By calling Midna, we can clip up and float out of bounds, or I guess float up and clip out of bounds. And then swim to the loading zone. Very nice from Jacquaid there. First try. That looks good from Adam as well. He should be able to clip out of bounds. Oh, that's so unfortunate. So Adam is actually just going to have to drown and then try again. There fortunately is a backup setup, but that loses quite a bit of time. About a minute and a half, I believe. So right now, if you look at Jacquaid's screen, you'll notice he's just doing some LJs here. Normally you'd have to use bombs to knock down some stalactites, but we can just use the boomerang to avoid that because we don't even have bombs right now. And then right here, we will be doing some more LJs to just make our way around this room. So right now, what Jacquaid is going to do is go over this way and get Uku. And the reason that we need to get Uku is because, once again, we are not going to be getting this. So, but we do have to clear Linear Twilight, and that means raising the water level. So we do have to get back into Lake Bed, because what we're going to do is get the claw shot and then just leave. But we are going to need to be able to, well, first of all, get out, but second of all, get back in later. So Uku just lets us do that super easily. We can just use Uku to leave the dungeon and come back whenever we want. So right here, you'll notice Jacquaid entered the mini-boss room from the back, and he's just going to look up, and the fight's going to start. And the reason that works is because of the boss flags trick that we did earlier that gave us all the monkeys. Having boss flags just lets us do that. So yeah. And it is possible to one-cycle Deku Toad. It is quite difficult, but with practice it can be done. You need to do 10 individual slashes. Very nice from Jacquaid there. That trick is quite precise. You need to do 10 individual slashes with the Master Sword, and that will kill Deku Toad in 1 cycle. If you didn't have the Master Sword, so like in HD, they have to actually do that twice, which is even more difficult. But yeah, so they can just 1 cycle Deku Toad. Very nice. And then we need to save warp because you can't use Uku in a mini boss room. So once we leave the dungeon here, we are going to head over to Fire, because we need to talk to Fire to get the Kargrok fight to start. And because we have the Master Sword, we can do some interesting stuff on the Kargrok fight. So normally you have to like attack with Wolf and get the Boblin off of the Kargrok and then kill the Boblin. But we're going to do something different. So most enemies in this game die immediately when they touch water. So what Jacquaid is going to do is go towards the water here, and once the Kargrok starts getting close, Jacquaid is going to swim into the water and sink down with the Iron Boots and lure the Kargrok down to actually kill the Boblin, and then start the flying sequence. So very, very nice from Jacquaid there. That trick is a little annoying because, and it's a little scary because if the Kargrok grabs you when you're human under the water, then your game will actually crash. So you have to be very careful. And right there, Jacquaid did a pretty easy trick to just clip out of bounds in this flying section, which saves a little bit of time, a couple seconds. And it's not too difficult, so the reason that a lot of people might not go for it is just because if you do fail, then you lose like 40 seconds versus the time save of just like 8. So it's not really, some people don't want to risk it. And right there, Jacquaid did a jump attack out of a Mid-Text trigger. Just saves like a second or so. And if you remember before, I mentioned that after you call Midna to do Midna jumps, if she has some text, there's 1 frame right after the text box that you can actually jump towards Midna. But in Zora's Domain, this is actually like the one place that doesn't work, and you actually can't jump right after the text box. So Jacquaid is going to kill the Shadow Beast there, and I believe some route differences are going to come into play. So yes, so when Adam gets to the top of Zora's domain, he is just going to warp to Kakariko and then start clearing Elden Twilight. But Jacquaid is going to do something a little different. So he got to the top of Zora's domain, and he's going to warp to North Faron here. So because Jacquaid actually cleared the Twilight, he can go forward here and get the ending blow from the Golden Wolf. And the ending blow is required. You do have to get it. You can get to the end of the game without it, but you can't finish the game without it. So you'll be in like the final fight with Ganondorf, and you knock him onto the ground, and it says press A to finish, and you can press A all you want, and nothing's gonna happen unless you get the ending blow. So you might be thinking, well, Adam didn't clear Faron Twilight. How is he going to get the ending blow if you need it to finish the game? And that's where some of the route differences come in. So Adam is going to actually howl at a stone, one of the Howling Stones, and get the Golden Wolf to appear somewhere else so he can get the ending blow without having to clear Faron Twilight. Although that is going to cost him some time later, which is why I say that the although it looks like Adam is like super ahead right now, going to clear Elden Twilight, and Jacquaid is going to be doing something else right now. Adam is going to lose some of that time later when he has to go get the ending blow. So right now, Jacquaid is going to save his game, and he's going to do Back in Time Equipped, like what Adam did in the Forest Temple, at the start of the Forest Temple. But the difference is that Jacquaid isn't going to reset and skip the cutscene. So he's going to do Back in Time right here, and then do Back in Time Equipped. But Jacquaid isn't going to reset. He's actually going to do the fight, and that is going to put him in Kakariko, which is why he's able to skip doing the one frame A press, the Gorge Void, and not have to worry about just losing a minute to that if he misses a one frame A press. Unfortunately, Jacquaid is not getting the greatest luck here. And this is one of the reasons that some people might opt not to do this particular route, just because there is RNG on the King Baldwin fight, so you do have to be wary of that. So now they are both going to be going through Elden Twilight. Adam has already gotten a good bit of the tears. Coming up in not too long from where Adam is a trick known as Bomb House Skip. So at the top, once you exit Barnes shop from the top, there's a bug that you chase into his shed, and you normally go inside the shed and light it up, light everything on fire, and everything blows up, and then you get the tears that are inside. But what we are going to do is we're going to skip doing all of that. So by doing a specific setup here, Adam is actually going to not trigger the bug to start running towards the house and get around here. Very nice. And he's actually going to kill the bug before it goes inside. And by doing that, it just makes the house just disappear. And then he can grab the tears and be on his way. Yeah, that bug can be a little bit annoying in the corner there, because you can't actually hit the bug until it moves out of the corner. So So now Adam is heading up Death Mountain with only 3 tiers left to get. You'll notice that when he was climbing up there, he sort of clipped up. That's known as a quick climb, and it's only possible in some places, but it's sort of just by climbing up right next to the wall. You sort of clip inside the wall a little bit, and the game forces you out and causes you to climb up faster. Only 1 card left for Adam. This bug is also a little weird, and you do have to wait just a little bit of time before you attack it. And now we are done with Elden. So, next thing that we're going to do is warp to Death Mountain, because we've already made our way a little bit into Lanayru, and that's where we are going next. We are going to clear Lanayru Twilight, and we need to get the Big Rock, and warp it to Zora's Domain. And also Jacquaid right here is doing the human version of Wolf Bomb House Skip, which is quite a bit easier, and only loses a little bit of time. Most people do the human version. Only the really, really top runners do the wolf version. Also, that was a interesting void from Jacquaid there. I don't think I've seen that before, so that's interesting. And also, Adam unfortunately missed it, but there is one frame that you can side hop out of the midna text there. Saves a little bit of time, and it also looks pretty cool because if you notice on the map now, you'll see that all of the water is now filled in. But if Adam actually jumped out of the midna text trigger, then none of the water would be there. And when I say that, I mean none of the water would be shown on the map. So these shadow beasts are really, really annoying. The way they're positioned just can be really difficult to lure them to the places that they need to be for you to actually kill the two that you need to quick enough with the midnight charge. Because sometimes they can just go to really weird areas and you end up like bonking, and it's really annoying. Why, Case? Is it because of the jump to skip like walking on the platform? Is that like inconsistent? I never tried it. And also you'll notice that Adam transformed into human there to jump in the water. I forgot to mention it before, but there's a cutscene trigger where Rutella tells you like, "Oh, go to Castletown and save my son, and I'll give you the Zora armor." But we're not getting the Zora armor, and cutscenes are long, so we just transform into human and skip them, and we skip the Rutella cutscene. And right here are the lily pad bugs. They can be kind of annoying. It's RNG where they like fly around, and just the fact that they're in the middle of the water can just make it really annoying to kill them. Unfortunately, Adam isn't getting the greatest luck here. Oh my gosh, that was a lot of rupees. Adam is looking really, really good on rupees. I would say most people would probably be around 20 or 30 here. Being at 55 is really, really, really good. And definitely going to save him sometime later in the run. So now Adam is going to be making his way over to Castletown, because the way that the linear Twilight was made, there's just one tier all the way out here. It's just really annoying. But one good thing that comes out of it is we get the warp to Castletown, which we are going to use later. So I guess it's not all bad. You'll notice that Adam is panning the camera down, and that's because doing so reduces lag just a little bit, and just saves a little bit of time. So right here, Adam is going to be using a technique called dash canceling. As the name may suggest, you cancel your dashes. And that's because the initial speed of the dash is really fast, but in Castletown, as you're just moving along, it actually slows you down a ton as Wolf. Even human rolling is faster than the Wolf movement. So what we do is we just dash and then cancel it immediately to just so we can just use the initial super fast speed over and over. So now we will look back to Lake Hylia, and we're going to get the bug behind Fire's cannon here. It's just faster to get it now. And there is one more bug in Lake Hylia, but we would have to swim all the way out there, and that's really slow. So what we're going to do instead is howl there and do the flying section. And we'll get the bugs here, and then immediately after getting the bugs in the flying section, we're just going to bonk on the wall and void, and not try again, and that's going to spawn us back. It's going to actually put us right next to the last bug that we need to get, which is really convenient and much faster than swimming all the way there, so very, very nice for us. And as we'll see right here, it's going to spawn us all the way out here, and the final bug is right there, which is very nice. So the last thing to clear Linear Twilight is to fight the boss bug. The boss bug is pretty interesting. It flies down and attacks, and then you need to jump up onto it and hit it a bunch of times. And what Adam is going to do here is manipulate the bug's movement by going to the edge of the platform there and looking forward. And the bug is actually going to go directly in front. And the reason that we want to manipulate this is because, as you'll see here, Adam is going to attack the bug to stop it from flying up, and then just be able to attack it and knock it back into the water much faster than waiting for it to fly back up and then wait for it to do an attack. And the reason that we need to manipulate the bug is because these platforms are much longer than they are wide, so we have to have enough space to do the back hops. And then now we are, what Adam is going to do is, if you target all of the, what normally happens is you target all the tentacles and then you sort of like jump back and forth across the bug, hitting it 6 times. But the cutscene of the bug dying is just scheduled to start as soon as the midnight charge ends. So we can actually bonk on the side of the bug and end the midnight charge instantly and just start the cutscene and save a little bit of time. So now Adam is warping to Zora's domain, and right now Adam is going to be getting bombs. So we do actually need to get water bombs instead of regular bombs, because we need water bombs to skip the Zora armor. And we will need to get a permanent bomb bag, because... So what we're going to do is go to Izza's lodge, and we're going to save her from Shadow Beasts, and then she's going to give us a bomb bag. But that bomb bag is only the Lent bomb bag, so if we save, warp, or die, it's actually going to disappear. So we are going to need to get a permanent bomb bag. But first, because Adam... did not clear Fair and Twilight, and did not get the ending blow outside of Forest Temple, he is going to be howling here at this stone to make the Golden Wolf appear in a very specific and convenient spot, and so he can pick it up later in the run. So Adam can now run off to the side and just transform while behind the sign there. And now he's going to save Izza from the Shadow Beasts. So normally you would need to use the bow and help Izza. It is also possible to do that with the boomerang, but it is quite precise. But we are not actually even going to help Izza. We are just going to drop bombs in front of her face and then use Uku to teleport away as we blow up her establishment. So now that we've warped away, we still have the bomb bag, so we just stole the bomb bag from Izza. But like I said before, this bomb bag is only temporary, so if we save, warp, or die, it will go away, which is not what we want, because we are going to need to use bombs quite a few times throughout the run. So what we're going to do is empty out this bomb bag, because the way that bomb chests work is if you have a certain type in your bag already, then it will give you that type, but otherwise it'll give you whatever type it's otherwise supposed to give you. So we need to empty out all of our regular bombs from the lint bag, and then we can fill it up with water bombs. And then we are going to use those water bombs to get a permanent bag. So in Zora's Domain, there's a rock at the bottom of the sort of, I guess, like pool. And and there's a Goron in the rock. And if you talk to him, he gives you a bomb bag. And this is actually where one of the text differences comes in. So German, for any like special items, like pretty much anything on the item wheel, when you get it, there will be a sort of golden looking text box that the text scrolls and there's no way to skip through it. But in the German version, the golden text here for the bomb bag, so right there, that text in the German version, you can actually just skip past it, so it saves a couple seconds. And right there is a trick called Rocket Link. So by pulling out, what we can do is pull out a water bomb, and then force and equip the iron boost to start swimming with the water bomb. And then if we drop the bomb immediately, it'll actually shoot us up to the surface of the water. However, if you wait a little bit before dropping the bomb, it'll actually just refill your air. And that is the trick that we are going to use to skip the Zora armor entirely. But right here, what Adam is going to do is a trick called map glitch. So what he's going to do is open the map and call Midden on the same frame, and then try to warp away using the map, and Midden is going to interrupt the warp. And this is very important because the first thing that happens when you try to warp is all of the loading zones get disabled. And right in the middle of Snow Peak, there's a big loading zone that will cause you to void out. And the only way to normally get rid of it is by using the fishing rod and getting the reef fish scent. But because we did back in time at the start, we actually don't have the fishing rod, so even if we wanted to, we can't. But regardless, this is faster, and what we can do is just do map glitch and disable the loading zone and then just run right through. And it's actually kind of interesting. The Japanese version doesn't actually have map glitch. The glitch just doesn't work. So Japanese is actually the slowest version by far. It's about 15 minutes slower. Because you have to get the fishing rod. But here, you'll notice Adam is howling at the stone. And this is because howling at the stone will allow him to reload the area. Because the next place that he's going, he has to go through a loading zone. And if he did not reload the area, then the loading zone would be disabled and the game would just soft lock because it would have nowhere to put him when he digs there. So, Jacquaid is actually doing something a little bit different than what Adam was doing. Also, what Adam did right there is at the top, you can throw the boomerang and do a long jump attack into the void. And normally you'd have to go forward and fight some shadow beasts there, but by doing that, LJ into the void, the game assumes that you couldn't have voided out there unless you were up on this ledge. So it respawns you on top of the ledge and we can skip past the shadow beast fight. But that also means that the fog never clears, so the snowboarding is actually quite a bit more difficult. And we're going to have to do it while not really being able to see that well. And it is quite difficult, but we do have some visual cues, and they should be able to... Adam should be able to get it first try. But so Jacquaid, you'll notice, got some different bombs in Lakebed than Adam did, and that's just because for the route that Jacquaid is doing, it's a little bit faster to do what he's doing. I'm not exactly sure why or how the route ends up working out, but just the way that he's doing it, it is faster for the route. But coming up here, Adam is there's a scary jump right there. Fortunately, he was able to get it. Just that's like the hardest part, just getting on that teeny tiny little sliver while not being able to see where you're going. Definitely takes some practice, but very nice that he was able to get it first try. And now Jacquaid is going to do the same thing that Adam is doing right now. Ah, that makes sense, Dragonbane. Right, because in Bite Route, we get the Silver Rupee. But right there, what Adam is doing, so we can go off to the left there, do an LJ across the gap, and just claw shot through the floor, because there's no collision on the bottom, because you're supposed to blow it up from the top to drop down and get the heart piece. And now Adam is going to do double LJ to get across those gaps and get the small key here. And then void out. You'll also notice he's dropping bombs as he's going along, and that's because he needs to get rid of all his bombs to get water bombs in that bag. Because, like I said before, we do need a permanent bag that has water bombs in it. So now Adam is going to do a trick called Freezard Skip, where he is going to clip out of bounds by getting damage invincibility, and then he can clip between the Freezard and the wall and open the door backwards and get into the new boss room. So right there, it is possible to one cycle Dark Hammer. With bombs, it's even faster, but if you don't have bombs, you can just do some quick spins. But we can just deal a ton of damage really quick, and now we can get the ball and chain. So now Adam's going to go back here and kill this bubble right there to get this orange rupee. Because once again, we need to have 300 to get to City in the Sky. So you can just grab that orange rupee and get 100 really quick. We save warp, and right at the start of the dungeon here, there's actually another rupee that we can get. This other orange. So now Adam, a very, very good rupee count. Well over 200, which is, once again, definitely going to save him quite a bit of time later. 258 is, or 256 is a very, very good rupee count. So Adam is now dropping the last of his bombs and can open the chest there. And now we have a permanent bag with water bombs in it. So most dungeons in Twilight Princess, to get to the boss, you actually do have to open the boss door. Even some that we can get behind, it's not possible to get in because the loading zone is tied to opening the door. But Lake Bed is an exception. So we can do a pretty specific setup here. We can actually clip into the room because in Lake Bed, you open the boss door and then drop into the room instead of open the boss door and it takes you in. So Lake Bed is the exception, and we actually can skip the Lake Bed boss key, which is very fortunate because I believe you would have to get Zora armor if you could not do that. So very nice from Adam there. And now we are going to do the Morpheal fight without Zora armor. So this fight is pretty interesting. It is kind of RNG. Fortunately, Adam got a little bit unlucky there, but to pull it back. Once you can barely sink down all the way to the bottom without the Zora armor, and if you skip the cutscene at the beginning of the fight, you will just get your air back. And then after Adam did a spin attack on the eye, which will start the next phase, he started doing swimming with water bombs. And this is very important because, like I mentioned before, this is what's going to allow him to refill his air. And by equipping the Iron Boots before latching on to Morpheal, and then force unequipping them after dealing 4 hits, you can actually detach from Morpheal very quickly, which is very nice because we need as much time as we can get to sink down to the bottom and refill our air. And it also helps because we can do this, where we can detach quickly and then re-grab instantly, and actually not even have to sink down again. So that was a very, very good fight for Adam there. 2-bomb is best case scenario. So that was very, very good. Very good RNG, and pulled it off quite nicely. So it looks like Adam is actually going to skip the heart container there. Most people at top level will skip the heart containers. You really only... They definitely help for safety later in the run. Because in Palace of Twilight, which is a required dungeon for us to do, there are just enemies all over the place that do just little bits of damage. And it can be really, really annoying, and they can just kill you really, really quickly. So it's just having more health is just nice. now we have Midnight's Desperate Hour, which is a lot more like Midnight's Desperate 6 minutes, because that's approximately how long the segment is. Unfortunately for us, Midnight's Desperate Hour is one of the few segments that actually has very, very little RNG on it. So it's just mainly execution. And we'll also be able to see Jacquaid right now, also doing the Morpheal fight without the Zora armor. It looks like so far the fight is going decent. This looks very good. You should be able to grab on Morpheal again, and this should be a 2-bomb. Yes, very nice. Once again, just like Adam, very good fight, pretty good RNG. Midnight's Desperate Hour also, unfortunately, doesn't really have any major time saves or anything like that. No major tricks or anything. Just a couple things here and there that I will point out when I see them.
We will bless you.
That was a little weird that he missed the postal, unfortunately. That doesn't usually happen. Right here we can just grab the postal and begin moving on. Yeah, DV, I just dropped my phone. All good. I have a good case. So right there, Adam lit the web and dropped the stick and just ran over here. Because we can just transform into human and use the lantern, which is just faster, because we can dash over and not have to worry about climbing. But right here, there's a Bulblin here, and if we actually don't kill this Bulblin, he will cause lots of problems for us. He'll just like keep shooting at you over and over and knock you down off the ropes, so you actually do have to kill the and we can do a little bit of a setup to just knock him into the water, which, as I said before, kills most enemies instantly. And right there, what Adam did was he jump attacked Bulblin, and there again, to actually just get off the rope a little bit faster than just walking. And if Adam does his movement well. There's a bridge that's on a wind cycle here that we have to jump onto to get to Zelda. And if you go fast enough, it is possible to make it on this wind cycle here. And looks like he was able to get it very, very nice. Saves a little bit of time over just standing and waiting. Although it is a little bit risky to go for if you're not sure, just because the bridge is quite finicky. I definitely wouldn't say it's a lenient trick. So right here, Jacquaid won't have to do this because he's already gotten the ending blow. After howling at the stone at Upper Zora's River, just spawns right over here, right outside Castle Town, which is very convenient for us because we're just right here after Midna's Desperate Hour. So we can just go over here and get the ending blow. So you'll actually notice that after Adam gets the ending blow here, it is actually going to put him in Farron, weirdly enough, because I guess that's because normally where you get the ending blow, in this weird half Twilight, half real, half normal state. But it doesn't really matter because we just want to warp away afterwards anyways, so it doesn't really matter where it puts us. Because we just want to warp to Lake Hylia right afterwards. So the next place that we're going to be going is the desert. So the first thing that we have to do is go talk to Aru at the top of this tower. And, coming up here is a super intense, difficult segment. We're just going to transform into human here and just hold up. This is very nerve-wracking. This is very difficult. Adam's probably sweating a ton right now. Look at this riveting gameplay right here. Intense gameplay. And fine, great, out of the way. That was very tense, but fortunately, Adam was able to make it through. Also, Jacquaid got pretty lucky that the bridge there was almost down, but he was still able to jump over to the rooftops. Oh, that's a little unfortunate. You normally want to stop yourself right at the edge of the post there, so you can transform with your face hidden, and then so like fire. I guess you're in his line of sight, and Midna doesn't let you transform when other people are around, so you have to go behind the fence post. And also, if you look on Jacquaid's screen there, I guess I forgot to mention it before. If you look on his map, you'll notice that it doesn't show that all the water is there, like how it did on Adam's map, and that's because of the there's a mid-attack skip in Linear earlier. Riveting gameplay once again from Jacquaid here. Intense. Most difficult part of the run. Yeah, DB, when if you get the side hop after warping the rock, then the map doesn't show the water. You'll also notice that Adam is panning his camera down here as well. And this is because it's super laggy in the desert. It's just such a large area. And so by panning the camera down, it just reduces lag. It's quite noticeable even when he pans the camera forward again. And right there, normally you'd have to get a boar, but because we have the ball and chain early, we can actually use it to knock down the post there, and then we can sort of just squeeze between the fence there and the... we can just squeeze between the fence and the wall. And coming up here is actually going to be the second use of Map Glitch. So normally you'd have to go through the Bulblin camp and get a small key and open a gate to fight King Bulblin. But the trigger that starts the fight actually goes infinitely up and infinitely down. So by doing Map Glitch, we can actually disable the void outloading zone and and we can get out of bounds and hit the trigger from below. So we can do an LJ out of bounds right there, and then we can look over to the side here and jump attack down here, and then we can actually just, like I said, hit the trigger from below, and start the fight this way, which is much faster. And then we can actually finish off King Bulblin with some spin attacks. Unfortunately, Adam is having a bit of a sloppy fight there. But it is possible to finish off King Bulblin with just some quick spins. When Adam actually missed his quick spins, you saw him back up, and that's because we have to be really, really careful here. You actually, I believe King Bulblin can actually kill you in one hit, and that's really, really bad if he does, because the game will actually soft block because we did Map Glitch. So if you die when Map Glitch is active, then you soft block. So at least in this area. So now we're going to be entering Arbiter's Grounds. And Arbiter's Grounds is actually a really interesting dungeon because we sort of do both. There's sort of the first half and the second half, and we sort of do both halves of the dungeon backwards in a really weird way. So I'll talk more about that once we get to it. But to start off, we're just going to be going through these first couple of rooms. Go over to the next room. And in this next room, there's a bunch of, I believe they're called Stalkin. And little interesting fact about the Stalkin, they actually won't attack you if you don't look at them. So if you just have your back turned to them, they just won't attack you, which is kind of interesting. So coming up here in a little bit is a trick known as Po Skip. So normally you would have to, the 4 Poes scatter themselves all except one, and you normally have to kill this first Poe here to get the Poe scent. But we're actually not going to be doing that. We can go off to the side here, and there's sort of this pillar off to the left that's like stuck in the sand, and we're actually going to use that pillar to skip fighting the first Poe. So we can do a long jump attack towards it and start walking forward here and actually just clip up onto it and jump up and grab that ledge. And now we're sort of going through the dungeon in a bit of a weird way. So we're actually going to get the 4th Poe first. So right here we can use the ball and chain on the Stalfos and kill it very quickly. And the 4th Poe is kind of interesting. So the Poe will sort of spin around slowly and then spin around quickly. And we needed to start spinning around quickly as soon as possible. And so we're going to be doing some RNG manipulation for that. It's a little bit difficult to remember sometimes, and it's not the easiest thing to pull off, but hopefully both runners will be able to do it. So you'll notice there's the fast spinning around. And right there, Adam pulled it off beautifully. The RNG manipulation, so you saw that they started going to the fast spin once again immediately after he got the first hit. So now we have the first of only 3 Poes that we're going to be getting, even though there's normally 4. And the reason that we can actually skip the first Poe is because you can actually get the Poe scent off of any of the Poes. So we can just get it off the 4th Poe here. So because Adam has some extra rupees, normally you would, I guess normally in a speed run we would open the red rupee chest, and that would just give us some extra, but Adam already has about 20 extra rupees, so you can just sort of jump over the fence and not have to go the long way around and get the red rupee. I assume that Jacquaid will be getting the red rupee, so we'll see that from him when he gets there. And when you collect rupees in the air, it actually skips the text. So Adam can just side hop over the rupee and pick it up in midair and skip the text. And we also get to see from Jacquaid there the RNG manipulation on the Poe. So Jacquaid here, you'll see, is going to go off to the side here and get this red rupee in the chest, because he's going to need some extra. So now that Adam has 2 of the Poes, he's actually going to be going back this way, and this is why we push the block. It's not just to get the red rupee, it's so we can come back through these rooms backwards. So Adam has a small key that he got from the other room, and he's now going to use it to open this door backwards. And head off to the last pole. So we can deal damage to that Redead as Wolf by just doing one hit by jumping onto it, and then one hit of the Midna charge attack will take it down. And similar with the pose, as you may have been seeing, just one hit with the Midna charge attack, and then any other hit will do the pose in. So Adam now has 300 rupees. Very, very good. He's honestly just been really, really good about collecting rupees throughout the whole run, so very nice. And now, as we enter this room here, the Poe will, or I guess the flame will go back over to the pillar, and even though we didn't kill the first Poe, the door just opens anyways. And it is actually possible to skip getting all 4 Poes, but it takes about 13 hours, so obviously we are not going to do that in a speedrun. Does look pretty cool, so it's quite unfortunate that we can't make use of it in any percent. But so right there, what we can actually do is, as Wolf, we can actually just like use B attacks to get across the sand. And we can actually just go around, sort of clip past the pillar, close to the wall there, and go around and get the boss key early. So right now we're just going through these rooms backwards, and we're heading over to the mini boss, and it's just faster to go this way. The other rooms, going around the normal way, just takes forever. So here, Adam can do a pretty interesting setup. So because he got a really good Morpheal, he's actually going to be able to make use of all the bomb time saves. So right there, he can a nice break slide up the gate. But what he can do is drop the bombs in a very specific way, and it'll just kill the Stalfos right as he gets to the gate. And now we have Death Sword. So it is possible to skip Death Sword. Case wants to see both runners go for it. I don't know what they're gonna do, but it's pretty precise and it's quite difficult. And if you miss it even once, then you just break even with how the normal fight would be. I believe he is going to go for it. Yes, it looks like Adam is going to go for Death Sword skip. Got a little bit of RNG there, so he is going to about break even here, I believe. Unfortunately missing it twice. But if you were not going to do Death Sword skip, then what you would do instead was you could get Death Sword to come down and attack you, and you can... The ball and chain actually does just like a ridiculous amount of damage to Death Sword, so you can... and unfortunately he missed it there, but you can hit Death Sword with the ball and chain and just deal a ton of damage, and then do some slashes with your sword, and it's possible to get Death Sword down in one cycle. Looks like he's going to be going for it here anyways. Ooh, and unfortunately also missing the one cycle, but still showing off the strat with the ball and chain. And if you do some slashes here, but you never finish a combo, you can actually just keep Death Sword down. For some reason, he just never flies back up if you never finish a combo. And you can just take him out really quickly, just like that. And now we have the spinner. So the spinner is really not a super useful item. We do have to get it. It doesn't really get used that much. It only has a couple specific uses here and there. But right off the bat, we can use it to get across the screen there more easily. It looks like Jacquaid is not going to be going for Death Sword skip, and actually won't be using the ball and chain, but still doing the sword slash strat to keep Death Sword down and kill him in one cycle. So now we're going to be heading over to Stallord. And Stallord is a bit annoying. Stallord has two phases. The first phase is the annoying one. The second phase is actually pretty cool. But in the first phase, what you have to do is you have to use the spinner to hit Stallord in his spine 3 times. And Stallord will be spawning Stall children all around the arena, and to try and block you from getting to his spine. And the first hit is completely free, but the second and third hits are a little annoying. You have to maneuver around the Stall children, and it can just be really annoying because where the Stall children spawn is completely RNG, so you just kind of have to get lucky. Alright, first hit down, completely free. Then we have the second hit. Unfortunately, getting a bit bad luck, but still being able to save it by ricocheting off one of the other Stall children. And for the third hit, you actually have to do that. Alternatively, you can just go forward and kill them, and then jump back down, but that doesn't... It's pretty slow to do that, and unfortunately Adam did not get very good luck there. So he's going to have to roll up and try again. Bouncing back and getting the third and final hit. Very nice. So unfortunately not the greatest first phase, but definitely not terrible. So right there, we use the spinner to get into the center. because in Stallard's room, the spinner just moves ridiculously fast. And coming up here, so normally you have to get on the spinner and chase Stallard all the way up to the top of the room, and then as he shoots fireballs at you, sort of jump back and forth and get closer and closer until you knock him down. But it's actually possible to knock him down before he even goes up to the top by doing some rolls here, and by timing getting on the spinner. It's possible to hit him down very nice from Adam there, hitting Stallard down, and now we can just one cycle with quick spins. So right there, Adam actually, I feel like that might have been a little bit close. You do really want to make sure that you can get all of the quick spins in there, because if you don't, Stallard will get up and you will actually have to go up to the top. And the thing is, once you deal a ton of damage, Stallard will start spawning blade traps. And it just gets super, super annoying to get up to the top. It's just really slow and terrible, and you just really want to make sure that you can kill Stallard in one cycle. So that was very good from Adam there. Can he still get sub 3? I thought you had to get... I thought good run finished an hour after Arbiters. That was a little after 2. So right here we can roll around and kill the Shadow Beast really fast. And normally Midna, if you try to warp just calling Midna, she will tell you like, oh no, the Mirror of Twilight's so close. And you'd normally have to raise it. But if we open the map and zoom in all the way, and then open the warps, then just by zooming in all the way, for whatever reason, Midna will not tell you to raise the mirror, and you can just warp away. So coming up here is probably the biggest sequence break in Twilight Princess. We are going to go up to this owl statue over here and get sort of on the edge, and then we can transform, and we'll just clip into the owl statue. And we can now just get to the cannon, and that skips so much. It skips beating Snow Peak, it skips beating Temple of Time, it skips doing the entire quest where you have to get the books and run all over the place. It's super long and tedious and annoying, and just skips all of that, and it's super nice. So this right here is what we needed the 300 rupees for. So we need to pay Fire to fix up the cannon for us. So Jacquaid, you'll notice, is just a teeny tiny little bit short. But right here, we get this silver rupee here, which is a little bit faster than getting the other rupees that are available to him. So you can just pick up that silver rupee, which is worth 200, and head off to Lake Hylia. So now we are in City in the Sky. In my opinion, one of the coolest dungeons in Twilight Princess, both casually and in a speedrun. In a speedrun, it's super fun to watch, super fun to do as well, and it's just really cool. So, and the reason is because there's just void everywhere. You know, it's in the sky. So we make use of a ton of LJAs, and the movement is super cool. So we're going to be running forward here. First we need to open this gate. And then right on the other side of this door will be the first uses of LJs in this dungeon. Normally you would go off to the side, grab the Uku, but that's slow. So we can just use the boomerang, do some LJs here. Then right here coming up is a trick known as fan skip. So if you open up this door here as far away as possible, it's actually possible to, there's a fan in this room at the top that we will be able to see later. But stopping that fan from spinning is actually really important, because if you don't stop the fan from spinning, then later we will we'd have to go through a bunch of other rooms. So I'll explain more about what exactly that lets us do once we get to it. So right here, Adam's going to be picking up, and Jacquaid is also going off to the side here, because the way that his bomb route works out, he needs to grab these here. But once we get the small key there, it actually sets our spawn point at the small key. So if you were to save warp, it would put you at the small key, because there's a cutscene trigger coming up that the devs didn't want you to. They didn't want you to just save warp to get past it, but we're going to get past it anyways. So we're going to go over to here and get up onto that little block, and then we can jump up onto the ledge there and actually just get past the cutscene trigger. The cutscene trigger is it's a cutscene of Argarok coming down and breaking the bridge, and then it sets your spawn point back at the start of the dungeon, both of which we do not want. It's not only faster to skip the cutscene, but it's faster to have the bridge there, and it's faster to keep our spawn point at the small key. And as soon as we use the small key, the cutscene trigger will actually just disappear, so we won't have to worry about it anymore, which is very nice. You'll notice that right before the bridge opened the item menu, because you don't have to actually going all the way to just until it's like just about to hit the other side, then we can stop. And then we can go up to the side here and make more use of LJs. Oh, unfortunately, Adam missed the LJ there, but that's not really a huge time loss. Just has to go through the room again. Unfortunately, Adam getting a little bit unlucky, but they're getting the LJ. Very nice. Jacquaid is also doing the cutscene skip there. He did a slightly different method that's a little bit safer, but a little bit slower. But regardless, still does the trick. And now we can get on with the dungeon. And on each of these chandeliers that we claw shot, there's one frame that you can actually drop off before the cutscene starts, but it is quite difficult to time, and there aren't really any particular visual cues. You just kind of have to get a feel for it. Not a huge time loss or anything, though. Just would save a little bit of time if you were to get it. And then right here is a trick called Uku Jump, where you can get a jump off that little ledge and actually grab the edge of that opening there, instead of doing the puzzle in that room. And if you fail Uku Jump, the puzzle's actually so slow that it's just faster to retry Uku Jump until you get it. Then right there we can use Uku to get all the way to the bottom of the room there. And now we are going to head off to Erelphos. So Erelphos is pretty interesting, but we're actually not gonna fight in it. So it is possible to skip the fight. It's very, very precise, pixel precise. I believe I'm actually not sure if it's just precise or pixel perfect. But we can do a specific setup here, and if Adam lines it up correctly, yes, very, very nice. That was not only fast, but he actually got the trick. Very, very good. That trick is very, very difficult. Like I said, basically practically pixel perfect. So first try, and is just really, really awesome. So great job. Right there, just a little setup to get to the door a little bit faster. And also just to point out, that's where the small key was. And now, because we use the small key, the cutscene trigger goes away, and we can just roll right past it. So right here, the trick I mentioned before, by opening the door as far away as possible, fan skip, this is where we're really going to make use of it. So right here, you'll notice that he's gonna right there. That's the one that would be spinning, and if it was, then we wouldn't be able to go up this way, and it would be a lot slower. And then right here we can do an LJ to skip going across those ropes there. And now we're going to get the boss key, or I guess the big key in this game. Jacquaid unfortunately not able to get Arelfo skip first try, but that is by no means a bad thing necessarily. Like I said before, it's practically pixel perfect, and it doesn't really lose that much time if you fail it. Definitely better to go for it again than to try the fight again, or I guess to try the fight. But unfortunately, Adam missed the LJ there. I'm not sure why. But right here, and there, Jacquaid got it, which is very nice. But here, Adam can try the double LJ again, and make it over here. That's just to, the reason that we do that stuff is to avoid starting up the fans spinning around. Yeah, Jacquaid, don't even worry about it. Second try is still very good. It only loses like 15 seconds or something. So this room that Adam's in is actually pretty difficult to do well. The fans are all in a cycle. You just have to be really fast with your claw shots. And that was very nice from Adam, making it through that room with no mistakes. And right as we enter, right at the start of the room, there's this little trick, little time save called Rob Shot, where we can just go over to the side here and claw shot all the way up to the top of the vines, and not really have to climb very much because climbing is just super slow in this game. But now we have Argrok, the boss of the dungeon. So Argrok is pretty interesting. We have some interesting time savers right at the start. I'll mention it once we get to it. But interesting little fact: if you claw shot Argrok's tail here on the first frame possible, your game will actually soft lock for whatever reason. So pro tip: go slow. But then right here, Argrok would normally fly around again, but if you actually claw shot back onto the pillar quickly enough, Argrok will not start flying around, and you can just claw shot onto his tail and bring him down. And that's the end of the first phase. So right as the fight starts, you're going to notice that Adam's actually going to jump off and void immediately, and that's just a small time saver. Saves about 3 seconds. Normally Argrok would fly around a bit, but by doing that, Argrok stays in the center, and we don't have to wait. And then here, normally you would have to claw shot up and just start claw shotting around as Argrok blows the flames. But by sinking down with the iron boots while claw shotted onto the P-hats, we can actually sort of trick Argrok into thinking that we fell. So he stops blowing the flames, and then we can just go around to his back and claw shot on, and deal some damage. And we will be doing that one more time. But for the third cycle, Argrock, halfway through blowing the flames, Argrock actually tries to trick you and changes direction to try and knock you off. So we have to do a little bit of a different setup, but essentially the same idea, stopping Argrock from blowing the flames and going around back to deal some damage. So as soon as Argrock starts blowing the flames, we can claw shut up. And as soon as Argrock's flame hits the P-hat there, Adam's going to equip the Iron Boots, point towards Argrock, and then as soon as he starts blowing the flames there again, unequip, and that will allow us to claw shot onto his back and deal the finishing blow. So very, very nice fight from Adam. Yeah, just really good fight. Let's hope that Jacquaid can pull off something similar. So with that out of the way, now we can head off to Alice, because so normally you'd have to collect all of the mirror shards, but Twilight Princess, the game actually only checks for the final mirror shard, which is in City. So all we have to do is beat City in the Sky, and then we can move on to Alice of Twilight. Oh, unfortunately, Jacquaid messed up the grab on Argrock there, so that's been losing a little bit of time. Fortunately, it's not too terrible. And right here, you'll notice that Adam put on the iron before going in the cannon, and he did a jump attack right as he got out, and that's just so that we can land on the bridge instead of landing in the water, which is going to just save a little bit of time. So Palace is somewhat interesting. There aren't too many skips or tricks or anything, but we've really gone to great lengths to just optimize the general movement. So we'll be seeing some pretty cool stuff throughout the dungeon. little interesting fact, this fog right here, if you go into it as human, it'll transform you into wolf if you go into it as human. And that fog right there, specifically that fog, will cause Midna to like tell you about it. She'll be like, hey, you know, the fog transforms you into a wolf. But if you just go in as wolf, she won't talk to you, and we can just avoid that text. Then right there, we can side hop onto the chest and do a jump attack to just get a little bit of height and get up onto the ledge instead of using the claw shot, just a little bit faster. And right here coming up is the Phantom Zant fight. So Phantom Zant is a little weird how it works. If we deal specific amounts of damage instead of just doing a combo slash, Zant would normally, he would just teleport around randomly really fast. But by dealing specific amounts of damage, we can get Zant to teleport slowly, and we can just go around and kill him in 3 cycles. So very, very nice from Adam there. And right here is just a little trick known as an L slide that allows you to move while claw shotting something. Just saves a teeny tiny little bit of time. And then right here we can throw the soul off to the side there. And because we know where the ground is going to come up, we can just run over to where we need to be. And right here there's a little text trigger, or not a text trigger, a trigger that spawns the Shadow Vermin. And by doing an L slide, we can go past the trigger without triggering it, which just saves a little bit of time. And here with these Shadow Vermin, we can just run around them. So right here, you would normally ride the platform over to the other side, but we're just going to do an LJ because it's much, much faster. The platforms are just super slow. Unfortunately, Adam messed up a little bit there. You want to hit the Phantom Zant head with either, I guess, 3 attacks with the strength of a spin attack. So there, he was able to finish off the Phantom Zant head. A little unfortunate luck, but what can you do? So right here, that was quite nice from Adam there. It's possible to ball shot onto the target there before the scene starts, which is quite difficult. And then right here, it is possible to claw shot the targets there without actually going into first person, and it looks really cool, but that is also quite difficult. And then right here, we can do an LJ to get over to the door faster. So once again, we have the Phantom Zant fight, essentially identical to the other one. We just do the same attack patterns to deal the same amount of damage, and we can take Phantom Zant out in 3 cycles. So very nice from Adam there. So once again here, some more L slides. Oh, I guess the Shadow Vermin got in the way there. But yeah, we can just grab the soul and get out of here. And I would personally say that even though you do it second, the East Wing is easier than the West Wing because throwing the soul behind the sort of barrier in the west side to bring up the stairs is kind of difficult. But right there, we can just throw the soul straight forward, which I find much easier. So yeah. And then right here, Adam has to be very careful because if he falls down, he's going to lose quite a bit of time. So this is definitely something that you want to practice. Very nice from Adam there, making it across all platforms. That's definitely something that you want to practice because falling down is just really, really, really bad and can just lose you so much time. So you really want to be careful of that. And it's faster there to drop the soul and roll onto the platform because running with the soul is just slow, and we can just claw shot it while the platform's moving. But now we will be getting the light sword. So now that grants us access to the second part of the dungeon. So Jacquaid, like Adam, is doing the Phantom Zant fights same way, killing Phantom Zant in 3 cycles. Or actually, I believe Jacquaid's going to do it in 4 cycles. The method that Jacquaid is doing is a little bit easier, but it is a little bit slower. So that's just something to keep in mind. Right here, we can do some LJAs by. And then we just want to kill all the Zant heads to make the key chest appear. And actually, by lighting up the orbs there and then jump attacking off the platform immediately, we can actually have the platform set and ready to go for once we pick up the key here. So we can just step on it and have it immediately start rising. And then right here, some more LJs. Just saves a little bit of time. Nothing huge. So once we kill that one Zant head off to the side, we just jump in the void to get back to the center area here, and we can actually claw shot the target over here. Just saves a little bit of time over jumping through and going up some other targets. And we're just going to grab the boss key before jumping down to kill the rest of the Zant heads. And now that Jacquaid has the light sword, we can now also move on to the next part of the dungeon. So right here in the room that Adam just entered, there's a platform that's on a cycle at the top of the room. And right at the start of the room, there's some shadow beasts that you have to fight. And calling Midna there, like it might be a mistake or not really do anything, but it actually, what it does is it stops the platform at the top of the room from moving, but it doesn't stop the shadow beasts. It doesn't stop the shadow beast timer. So what we can do is stop the platform from moving, not stop the shadow beast timer, and it doesn't lose any time. And then we can make the platform cycle at the top of the room, which missing it loses about 15 seconds. So it looks like Adam had quite a bit of time to spare and was able to make it onto the platform. So now we are coming up on the final room before Zant. We just have to kill some shadow beasts here, and they always fall in the same place at the same time, so we just have to memorize the pattern, and we can just kill the shadow beasts. And that's all of them. And now we can head off to Zant. So, Zant, in my opinion, is honestly probably one of the coolest bosses in all of Zelda. The gimmick is just really, really neat, and it's just a really fun fight overall. So, Zant has 6 phases. And I guess we'll go through them as we get to them. So, the first phase is the Diababa phase. So we spawn in this room of Forest Temple. And we throw the boomerang, and something important to note about Zant is the only hit that matters is the 4th hit of a combo slash. Unfortunately, Adam missed it there, but you can sort of just start doing the combo before Zant even gets to you, because all that you need to hit is the 4th hit. And on this phase, it is possible to one-cycle this phase, but it is quite precise. Looks like he missed it there, unfortunately. It saves about 15 seconds to get it. But not too huge of a time loss. So here, this is the reason that we needed to get a permanent bomb bag with water bombs, specifically for this fight, because as you may have noticed, we've done a lot of save warping, and if that the lent bomb bag went away, then we would not be able to do this part of the fight. And something that's important to note is that Zant will always spawn in the head that's furthest away from you, so we can use that to just know which head he's going to be in, which is really great because we only have a limited air supply, so... And coming up right here is the Blitzetta phase. The only reason that we have to go to... this is the only reason that we have to go to Snow Peak at all. And it's because the only way to get past Zant is by using the ball and chain on this phase. There's no other alternative. And yeah, that was an unfortunate time loss for Jacquaid falling down there. I hope he can finish the run strong and get a PB. Yeah, so that Blitzetta phase, that's the only reason we need the ball and chain. It would be really nice if we didn't have to go all the way to Snow Peak, because it just loses so much time. But, alas, we can't skip it. But here, this final phase, we have some interesting setups to make sure that we only hit Zant with the final hit of the combo slash, and we can just finish him off super, super quickly. And that was a really, really nice fight from Adam overall. The only thing that went wrong was he missed the one cycle on the Goron Mines phase. so now we are done with Palace, and the only thing left to do is go to Hyrule Castle. So that's where we will be heading next. And it looks like Jacquaid was able to get the 1 cycle on the Goron Mines phase there. Very, very nice. And then right here, you'll notice that Adam is transforming and using the boomerang here. That's just to skip a mailman trigger. Just saves a little bit of time. So right here is the Squidna cutscene. It's a super long cutscene. If you have to go to the bathroom, go now. It's unfortunately another one of those long cuts that we can't skip. So yeah, this is the time for bathroom breaks. Thanks, Cyberman and Dragonbane. I appreciate it. And on Jacquaid's screen here, a lot of people don't really realize this. You can actually hit Zant. You don't have to wait for him to get like super tiny and start hopping around super fast to be able to hit him after you hit him with the ball and chain. You actually only have to wait until he's about like half size, and then you can start hitting him, which definitely makes it a lot easier to hit him. And here, hopefully, Jacquaid will be able to get the fast final phase. So far, so good. Oh, unfortunately missing that. But still able to finish it off quickly, doing a very nice backup. And that fight was, just like Adam's, also almost perfect. But just one tiny little mess up. So, very, very nice. And here, Adam is doing what's known as the stand still and do nothing strat, where you just pull out a bomb and just drop it down, and the enemies will just get blown up and die. And so coming up here is the final fight with King Bulblin. We just, like the fight in Arbiters, just do some quick spins, and can finish him off pretty quickly. Once again, we do have to be quite careful. Dying here is really bad, but Well, that wasn't a perfect fight, still pretty good. Missing some quick spins, but ultimately not a huge time loss. And I've never seen it myself, but I heard at one point that it's possible to soft lock there when King Bulblin gives you the key. And Link will just hold it in front of his face. And also here, it is possible to, there's a midna text trigger, and it's possible to jump out of it and save warp. Unfortunately, Adam missed there. If you do jump out of it and save warp, it's about 3 seconds faster. So not a huge time loss. And that barrier there that he just rolled past, he got out of it before just by you can roll into it, then skip the cutscene and just roll out really easily. So yeah, barrier skipping Twilight Princess. And right there, another barrier skip. We can jump attack off to the side and then skip the cutscene and get past it. And right here on this Dark Nut, there's a pretty interesting strat we can do by hitting him with the sword and then actually using the ball and chain to kill him very quickly. And then here, there's just a lantern puzzle, and the pattern's always the same. Just have to remember what it is. It's really easy. And then right here, you can actually kill the Denalphos really quickly with a bomb. And they just die really fast. And then right here, we are actually going to be fighting an Arelphos, and we can use the boomerang to have him put up his shield, then use the claw shots, and we can actually use the ball and chain once again to just take him out really quickly. It's really interesting how incredibly useful the ball and chain is. It just does so much damage to so many enemies. There are certain enemies that it does practically nothing to. Like I believe King Bulblin, if you try to use the ball and chain on King Bulblin, it just takes a ridiculous amount of hits. But for a lot of like more just common enemies, it's just really good. And now we get to see Link saved by a bunch of people that we never met before. Whoa, who are those people? But then we can just run forward and pick up the boss key here. So in this room, normally you'd transform into wolf and look at where all like the ghouls are pointing, but you can actually just roll through the room. And then right here we can take out these Lizalfos with, you just need to hit them with 2 slashes and a quick spin. Right there, you can just go with the spinner. And then right here is the final barrier skip. We can claw shot the, I guess, torch on the wall there, and then skip the cutscene and get past the final barrier. So right here is the Puppet Zelda fight. Zelda is basically completely RNG. There's not much else to say. I guess there's 3 different attacks that she can do. And the best is 7 cycles with fast attacks. So like there's like an amount of time in between each attack. You want that to be fast as well. And the attacks that you want are you want the orb, then you'd want a dash attack, then an orb, then 3 dash attacks, and then final orb. And you want dash attacks over the Triforce on the ground. It's just faster. And we have this interesting strat over on the side, over in the corner there. So that was Puppet Zelda. And now moving on to Beast Ganon. We have a pretty interesting strat to deal specific amounts of damage. And by dealing specific amounts of damage, we can manipulate some RNG. So we do a jump attack, 4 individual slashes, and then a combo. And what that does is it's going to deal just like a specific amount of damage. And after this this other hit here, what Ganon will do is normally he would start spawning a bunch of portals all over the room and teleport out of a random one. But by doing this specific damage, we can actually get Beast Ganon to just spawn 1 portal and just come out of that portal. And it's much faster. Unfortunately, I guess Adam messed up a bit there, but not too huge of a time loss. Only a couple seconds. And then Ganon gets finished off with just 1 wolf attack. So moving on here, we have the horseback phase. There are multiple ways to do this this fight fast, but there's one in particular that we're going to see Adam do. Essentially, there are just multiple setups to... oh, looks like something went a little wrong there, but there are multiple setups for it. Essentially, you just need him to swing at you and miss. And if that happens, then he will start running away and you can chase him. And it's a little weird. You do have to sort of aim yourself. Zelda is just a terrible shot. She just aims straight ahead, and so you have to sort of aim at Ganondorf. But with that out of the way, there's only one thing left to do. We just have the final fight, Ganondorf. And I mentioned it before, but it is possible to get all the way to this point without having the ending blow. But if you get here, you can try to finish Ganondorf all you want, and it just won't work. Nothing will happen. And we do have pretty neat looking strat on Ganondorf here. The fight can actually finish in about 15 seconds if done correctly. So we can go forward here and do a jump attack into a quick spin, and do that 2 more times. And with that, Ganondorf is down, and that's the run. GG. Very, very nice run from Adam overall. Really, really good, actually. I don't remember any huge mistakes. There were a couple things here and there, but overall nothing was too terrible. And while he's definitely had better runs, this certainly isn't the worst. And I guess that's going to be it for Adam. So let's take a look at Jacquaid over here. I don't know if the commentators or the restreamers are here, if they might want to switch it to single view.
Cool, give me a sec.
Unfortunately, Jacquaid is not getting very good luck on Zelda here, which could mean the end of his run in terms of a PB. So hopefully things start looking up a little bit. Zelda, unfortunately, gave him very, very bad luck. So I don't believe he can still PB. Unfortunately, he missed the ball and chain there. So I unfortunately do think that's going to be it, but let's hope he can still finish the run strong, bring it back a little bit. Very nice, you be able to deal the correct amount of damage. You should be able to get this as well. And I don't believe there's any particular corner there, just like maybe so he can't hit us down. Not exactly. I don't think there's any. I don't think it's like faster or anything. It just looks cool. So Jacquaid did deal the correct amount of damage, So we should be seeing one portal, and that'll be it. Yes. And now we have Beast Cannon out of the way. Corner slightly faster since you don't take damage. Oh, okay. So, moving on to horseback. Looks like Jacquaid getting a little unlucky here. Ganondorf not swinging immediately like he normally does, but Jacquaid was still able to avoid the attack and start chasing Ganondorf. That was very, very nice, actually. Most people just get knocked off opponent if they fail the initial setup. So very nice from Jacquaid there, pulling it back. Zelda, unfortunately, as usual, being a terrible shot. But Jacquaid getting the final hit on Ganondorf. Now we can be moving on to the final fight. Alright, so now we have the final fight. Once again, can be finished in about 15 seconds. So that's one, that's two, that's three, and he's gonna equip the iron boots for the meme, and there we go, GG. Really, really nice job. I know Jacquaid probably doesn't think that, but I thought the run was pretty good overall. Had some mistakes here and there, but ultimately, with how little off his PB it was, that was, I would say, a pretty good run. And he can definitely do better, and I hope to see more from him in the future. Yeah, wait, how many cycles was Zelda? I wasn't counting. Over 13? Dude, I had 14. No, wait. I got 15? Whatever, it's not important. Yeah, 13 is really bad. And I can't imagine they were all dash attacks, and I can't imagine they all were like short time between attacks. Even then, it's still like a huge time loss. That many more cycles. But anyways, yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I don't really have much else to say other than GG to both runners.
I'm assuming both of them are listening in on the stream. Jacquaid said he's down for an interview. Adam, was it?
Yeah, Adam, I think.
I don't
left.
know. Oh, did he leave? Because he
I'm
left
not
the
sure.
IRC. Oh,
Oh, he's
would
around.
you be down for an interview, Adam? I didn't realise you left the IRC. Okay, if you could please just join the waiting room and we'll bring you in as soon as you're ready.
Oh, Jacquaid's also in the waiting room. Hi,
Hello.
Jacquaid.
Hi.
So, interesting runs from both of you guys. Really interesting that you were able to play so close to your PB, Jacquaid, even though you weren't able to get it.
I mean, my PB's pretty horrible, so it's not that surprising.
Yeah, but you know, whatever. I don't know if you are gonna keep playing SD after Wolf Dash is over.
I might. And if I could
but,
say one thing, all of you losers need to join in Wolf Dash HD whenever it happens so that I can just wipe the floor with all of you. I dare you.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will, Jacquaid. But yeah, I think it'd be really cool if you kept pushing for better time. I think you could do it.
I could, but watching the second half of these runs constantly is extremely painful. So
yeah, and Adam, do you have anything to say? Your run was also pretty interesting. Definitely not the best that you've ever done, but certainly not a bad run for most standards. What was that?
It was a run.
It was a run.
I did the red rupee tech skip and skip in arbiters. That's all that counts.
Yeah, and I also remember you saying some stuff about getting some extra rupees before in like Elden, the knocking over the what is it, like the cabinet or whatever, to get the yellow rupee.
Yeah, there's that, and then there's another 5 in arbiters in the spinning Poe room. But I
Yeah,
always had
so-
so many rupees. I didn't even get that 5, and I still had enough. So
Yeah, definitely save some time. You know, able to skip the chest, the red rupee chest.
yeah, I don't know. It was a run.
It was a run. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have anything else to add, anything else you want to say. But I think that's gonna be it.
Well,
I can't think of anything. GG.
GG to both of you, regardless. Thank you, Buggles, for another commentary for Twilight Princess. How many have you done for the whole of the tournament brackets?
I don't know. I've done quite a few. I just, you know, especially as the tournament goes on further and further, I really feel like these, the matches between better and better players really deserve to be restreamed. So I'm happy to commentate for them if no one else will.
Fair enough. Just don't burn yourself out on it while you're doing so, because what's it called? You do a wonderful commentary for all of these races.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. That being said, congratulations to Adam and good luck on your next match. Apologies to Jacquaid, and I think the best thing to say is good luck with Twilight Princess HD Wolf Dash. I'm assuming that's what you're aiming for now. Yeah, anyways, I'm going to end things off here. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'm going to go host a ZSR1, so stay tuned for that. Bye guys.
Bye.